Start in Savasana and let your back body surrender to gravity. Imagine that you're lying on the beach. It's a sunny summer day. The waves are crashing into the shore. The ocean seems endless, blending into the blue sky in the distance. You smell the sea. You taste the salt in the air and feel the sand on your skin, a gentle grit exfoliating as you lie in the sand. And imagine the imprint that the back of your head makes in the sand. Then travel your awareness to your upper back and notice the imprint of your right shoulder blade and your left shoulder blade and your spine in the center, as well as your right and left arm, and how your body imprints itself into the sand. And then travel lower in your awareness in your mind's eye to your lower back, your butt, your right and left leg, right and left foot. Imagine your whole back body pressed into the sand. Did your body sink into the depths of the soft sand or just lightly kiss the surface, barely making a dent? Just be free to float above and observe the impact that you made below. And when you're ready, bend both knees and place both feet on the ground. Hold your left foot in your right hand and just notice how that feels. Keeping that awareness, and start to straighten and bend your left knee. Do this a few times, lifting your left foot a little closer to the ceiling and then lowering it a little closer to the floor. And notice you can do this with the foot right along the midline of your body, right in line with your spine, or your foot can be more of in a figure 4 position, or it can be a little bit further out to the left. So a couple more times. It doesn't need to be giant or big or stretchy. In fact, you might learn even more if you keep it small. And just kind of feel the sensations and the feelings here. What's happening through your right arm, through this closed loop. And then take a little rest. Just let go for a moment and observe your breath. Take a slow breath in and exhale out of your mouth. And then take hold of your left foot again with your right hand and put your left hand to the back of your head. You'll straighten your knee and lift your head up a little bit and then lower back down. So we're putting these two movements together. The goal is to explore sensation and not to make this the biggest movement possible. Your foot can be a little bit more over to the right as you bend and straighten your knee, or it can be a little bit more over to the left. Maybe you're just lifting your head and not your upper back. And how does that feel versus what it's like when you lift your upper back and your head, so there's more spinal flexion versus less? Let's do a couple more times, choosing which option or angle feels best. Just get curious and explore. Last time, and then go ahead and release, bringing your foot back to the ground. Let your arm and leg rest on the floor and pause for a moment. Check back in with the imprint and the sand in your breath. Roll up to a seat with the soles of your feet together and your knees open like a book. I recommend starting with your feet a little bit further away, but play around with what feels best. Place your hands on the floor behind you. You're going to shrug your shoulders up to your ears with your elbows straight. Let your chin drop in towards your chest. And your weight behind your sits bones rounding through your spine. Think of slouching, slumping upper back. From here, roll forward onto your sits bones, arch your spine, your low back, your middle, upper back, and take your gaze up towards the ceiling. And then the opposite, seated cat, curl and round your upper back. Keep moving between these two shapes, noticing your spine, your pelvis, the connection to the ground, the force you use, and your body's reaction. What happens when you push your hands and the outer edges of your feet to make all of these movements happen through your spine and your pelvis? Let's do 2 more, exploring in on the arch and breathing out through the curl, or vice versa. And last time. Now sit in a seated cross leg with your left ankle and shin in front. Use both hands to hold your left foot. And round your back while you move your foot away from your chest, and then come back, lowering your foot back down. So your upper back is making a similar movement to our seated cat-cow stretch. And again, we're just exploring the movement. What does it feel like when you round your spine and then straighten your back? I love this stretch between my shoulder blades, so notice where you feel it the most. Let's go for a couple more times. Maybe it's much smaller each time. And when you're ready, come back to a seated cross leg and then gently lower down to your back for a constructive rest. We'll take a moment again to notice your body's imprint in the sand. And take a slow breath in. And as you exhale, notice the ground, the sand, and the air against your skin. Now lift your left foot up and hold it in both hands like when we were seated. And allow your left knee to fall over to your left side, and then bring your left foot back closer to center. Explore what that movement is like with your foot closer to your pubic bone or your navel versus what it feels like when your left foot is higher and above your solar plexus or your chest. There's no right or wrong. This is not about the biggest range of motion or even trying to get your left knee on the ground. Just explore the small movements and observe the sensations that you feel. Let's do one more. And then let go of your left foot and put both feet back onto the floor. Walk your feet out wider and pause for a moment. Feel your connection to the floor through your feet, your spine, your skull. And then let your right knee fall in towards the midline so you feel the sole of your foot is no longer on the floor. and you're on the inside edge of your right foot. And bring your right foot back to the ground. Super small movement here. You drop your thigh in and your knee towards the floor to create a little internal rotation of the femur bone inside of your hip socket. And then you lift both knees back up so your thighs are parallel. So let's do that a few more times. You're on the sole of your foot. You roll to the medial side of the foot, the big toe side, and then back. One last time, knee drops in and then lifts back up. So move back to your figure 4 shape with both hands around your left foot. We're going to pull all of these movements together. Start with the right leg. Drop the right knee in towards the midline. Your left knee falls over to your left side. Round your back. Press your shoulder into the floor. And attempt to roll up to a seat. This takes practice and play, so don't judge yourself. You see me struggling here. You may or may not end up rolling up to a seat. When you're ready, reverse the movement. So you lower your shoulder down and then roll onto your back. It can take a few repetitions to figure it out, so just have fun with it and notice the accommodations your body has to make to sit up without using your hands and while holding your foot. Focus on rounding your spine, leading with your shoulder. That sometimes helps. And so I'm rolling onto my left shoulder, my left knee, my left shin and foot. Let's do this one more time. Last time, lowering down on the shoulder, roll into your back, and then gently release your foot. Let your legs go long and pause in Savasana for a halfway check. And send your awareness to the left side of your body. Imagine a line going straight through your center, through your midline, separating left from right. Notice your imprint in the sand and how does the left side of your head feel compared to the right. Feel the left side of your torso and arm pressing into the loose powdery sand. Notice the imprint of your left buttock, the left leg, foot in comparison to the right leg and foot and butt cheek. Does one side feel heavier than the other? Like it's making a bigger imprint in the sand? Just see what you notice. Bend both knees, and this time take your left hand and hold the sole of your right foot and start to bend and straighten your right knee. Know that your right knee might not fully straighten. That's not the goal. Just move your foot a little more up towards the ceiling and down towards the floor. We're creating a closed loop with our hand and our foot and causing our brains to exert a bit more effort. So what do we learn from this movement? Be playful. On these next few times, try it where your foot is a little more off to the left as you bend and straighten, and then you can try it where your foot is a little more off to the right. And then release for a moment and just pause. Feel the sand underneath your toes and check your breath. It's time to add on, holding your right foot with your left hand and place your right hand behind your head for some support. And as you straighten your knee, you lift your head up and lower back, down. This is a movement we can be really small, or it can be just barely lifting your head. Just a small movement through your knee. Or it can be really big, where you lift your head and chest up almost like you're doing a sit-up. So explore your options. Explore what different sensations you notice with the different variations and strategies. Maybe your left foot moves to the left as you lift and lower. And maybe you kind of rotate your chest a little bit to the other side. There are just endless variations. Notice what you're doing with your eyes. Your eyes can be closed, or maybe they're leading the way and gazing towards your belly as you rise your head and lift higher. And when you're ready, let go of your foot and pause for a moment in constructive rest. Take your fingers to your frontal hip points and just rock your pelvis a little bit forward and back, moving from an anterior tilt where your lower back gets further away from the floor, and a posterior tilt where your lower back gets heavier and presses into the floor. You kind of flatten out your low back. Now make your way back up to a seat. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees flap open out to the sides. Place your hands on the floor behind you like a kickstand, and back to our seated cat-cow. Round your back, slump your shoulders. I love this one, it feels so good. Shrugging your shoulders up like a turtleneck, sink yourself down, and reverse push into the ground to roll your pelvis, belly, and chest forward, one body part at a time, and look up. And when you're ready, reverse the movement. Sink your chin down, round your spine, inhale here, and send your breath into the most rounded parts of your spine. And start to migrate, shifting your weight from behind your sits bones onto your sits bones, maybe forward of your sits bones, pushing into the ground. A couple more times exploring, get curious. Maybe you rotate a little bit as you round and arch. You can keep it kind of low here. Maybe bringing your feet a little closer and your hands a little closer, noticing how that feels, if it changes the movement at all. One more time, flexing and extending. Now make your way into a seated cross leg. This time be mindful to bring the right shin in front of the left shin. We'll clasp both hands around your right foot, similar to what we did earlier on our back. And you round your spine and press your foot forward. Such a nice stretch. Really get into this feeling, pulling your shoulder blades apart using your foot. And then lower back down. If you want to explore variations, you can take your right foot a little off to the right and your right knee a little further out to the right. Or the opposite, maybe your right foot is more over to the left. You'll get different vectors of stretch and maybe feel different sensations. Let's do about 2 more times. And sometimes maybe it's more of a vigorous push with your foot. And then other times maybe you're pulling more with your hands. And last time here. And go ahead and release back to your seated cross legs, Sukhasana, just for a moment. And then lie back onto the floor and take constructive rest. Pause for a moment and just notice your imprint in the sand. Take a slow breath in and a long breath out. And hold your right foot in both hands and send your right leg, your right knee off to the right and then back again. So kind of rocking in your hip, rocking that knee like a little baby. And as you do this, you can keep your foot more above your belly and your chest. You can take that foot a little down towards your pubic bone and towards the floor. So there's more of a bend in your knee as you do it. Notice, what does that feel like versus a little less bend in your knee. Just a couple more times, feeling how maybe the weight transfers from your spine, perhaps more towards the right side of your back, or you keep your spine connected and it's just your leg that's moving and your spine is still. There is no right and wrong in any of this movement. When you're ready to release, you walk your feet a little wider than your hips and then let your left knee drop in towards the midline and then lift it back up. So you're rolling from the sole of your left foot to the inner border of your left foot, and maybe you feel some stretch here, some work there, or none of the above. And then again, this is just to notice. 2 more times, letting your left leg adduct, internal rotate, and then make it really easy and slow and small. Maybe you make it a little bit more effort and you do the opposite. And you're just exploring. Last time, and then come back up. Now grab your right foot with both hands and get ready to pull it all together. You drop your left knee in towards the midline so that your left knee, left leg drops to the right. And then you take your right knee out to the side and you roll yourself up to a seat. Press into the shoulder, round your back. Keep trying and lift. And then to come back down, round through your spine to initiate the roll. Use your side body and leg to make the transition and help you lower yourself to the floor with control. These movements are inspired by martial arts rolling patterns. So they were designed to challenge you to get creative with how you get off the floor quickly and efficiently. So explore what it's like to go from your back into a fully seated position with this constraint of your hands holding your foot. I left this struggle in so you can see that it's not easy. It takes practice. And go ahead and release your foot and come back to Savasana and turn your awareness back to the sand. You're back on the beach. The sun is shining and beaming bright. There's a nice warm breeze creating harmony with the waves and gently caressing your skin. And the water roars up to the shore and you hear the waves and imagine just one more time that line that goes from the crown of your head through your skull and down the center of your body where your spine meets your tailbone. And send your awareness to the right body half, noticing the imprint of the right side of your head, right shoulder, arm, upper back in the sand. And noticing the imprint of the whole right side and torso, right rib cage, right side waist, right pelvic half, right leg, right foot. If you were to float up outside of your body and above your body and look down, what does that imprint of your right side body in the sand look like? And shift your awareness to your left body half, feeling and observing the imprint on the left side of your head, shoulder, arms in the sand. And the depth of the left side of your torso, left rib cage, left buttock, concave in the sand, where the imprint of your left back, your left foot, left leg. And bring those two body halves together in your mind's eye and feel your whole body in the sand. And slowly bend one knee and then the other, finding the floor with your feet. Rolling back up to a seat. It is the end of our practice for today. Thank you so much for joining me.